Hey everybody, Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you. Look, I'm not going to be long. I am dropping the little one off. Well, little, she's 16, but dropping the little one off to her job and headed to the gym. And I decided to record this and post it later. First and foremost, it's Saturday, the day before Mother's Day. And I just want to send a shout out to all the mothers. Whether single or married, whether you still have children in the house or they're grown, I want to show love and appreciation for the work you do. Oftentimes it goes uncelebrated, unappreciated. Just know that there are those of us out here who really appreciate the energy, effort, and consistency and commitment at which you do what it is that you do. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, I want to briefly address some concerns of some of the subscribers to my YouTube channel. Yesterday I did a live video addressing a mindset that has permeated throughout the Black community in recent years, and it has come to a head as people discuss this guy Kevin Samuels. And I mentioned Kevin. I pretty much addressed where I feel, what I feel and how I see Kevin Samuels as an individual and what he does several months ago. So the video yesterday wasn't so much about him, but about the following behind him and the mental mindset that it takes for men to be in that particular place and not even understand what it is they're doing. And I talked about it on a number of different levels. I expressed it clearly. Of course, there was some Kevin Samuels supporters that chimed in and had some things to say about it. And for a while, I addressed it. And then after a certain point, those who know me know that I'm not going to go back and forth with anyone. I take very seriously what the master teacher, Dr. John Henry Clark, said when he said, "I only debate my equals, all others I teach." Some will take that as being arrogant and condescending. No, it's very good sense. You waste a lot of energy debating someone who hasn't put the time, energy, and effort to gain a lucid perspicacity or understanding of the topic at the level that you have. That's foolish, because their perception of it is going to be totally based on the level of exposure they've had to the information and the knowledge and the experience surrounding it. And so you can't debate quantum physics with a third grader. And the same thing applies. I've put tens upon tens upon tens of thousands of hours into honing my craft, mastering what it is that I was going to be committed to, which is first and foremost human performance, human behavior, psychology. But then I went a step further and I broke it down, taking the lead of Dr. Naeem Akbar, Dr. Amos Wilson, broke it down and looked at it from an Afrocentric perspective, Frantz Fanon and some others. And then I started to look at human behavior. I've talked about African-American adolescent male and young adult male violence. I've talked about the primary contributing factors. I've talked about multi-generational trauma. I've talked about epigenetics. I've studied epigenetics at a level and for so many years and intensive hours that I'm actually consulted by the International Council on Epigenetics and Cancer. So what I do with a great level of intensity. I read a minimum of 100 books a year. I write scholarly academic articles that are peer-reviewed, that people literally use to study. And the books are just one part of it. I'm constantly engaged in the development of my mind so that I can approach this challenge of the Black, the enigmatic issues that we face. Some people are asking why I haven't addressed some of the people who chimed in support of what Kevin Samuels does and how he does it. And I've heard all the excuses. You know, he's telling the truth. He's being honest. Sometimes women just can't take the truth. All this stuff, and I've pointed out, and I dealt with that in the video. So if you want to know how I feel about those excuses, you can go in the video. I'm very clear. I'm very emphatic. What I want to do here is for the people who want me to come back and address it. If you notice, I very rarely come back and go exchange for exchange with anyone, except for those I think that are actually trying to get an understanding or may have a legitimate point they're making and have the ability to back that point up with reason, rationale, empiric and pragmatic data, and experience. And for those people, I'll come back and I have that discussion. Sometimes I look at it and I can say, I can see your view. And there have been a few times I say, I tell you what, you're right. And I will actually come on live and do a retraction on a statement based off of some information that has been brought to me. I'm not beyond reproach. I'm not beyond correction. But in order for you to correct me, you've got to have put in 60 to 90,000 hours of research over 30 plus years into understanding the dynamic of Black existence, especially in America, but abroad. You have to have an understanding of the total social psychology of being Black in America. You got to have a lucid perspicacity of the dynamic of multi-generational trauma and how it's transmitted over generations. You must have an understanding of adverse childhood experiences and how they impact health over the course of any individual's life, and how that looks over the long term. You've got to have an understanding of the power of spoken word into the human psyche and the human mind. You got to understand all of these things before we sit down and have this discussion. I feel like it's not a solid foundation on which to build a hypothesis. A hypothesis such as, I saw one guy said I had an antiquated way of thinking, that my thought was antiquated. And, you know, that's their opinion. But when we come down, see, I don't deal in opinions, because see, everybody can have an opinion. Everybody's got something based on how they feel, based off of their own personal experiences. But life doesn't exist in the vacuum of your personal experiences. Life is about the totality of everyone and how it all interacts with one another, with itself. And so my thing is, when I talk about what I talk about, manhood can't be antiquated. The values, the core values and principles that determine manhood can't be antiquated. And so when you talk about it's an antiquated idea, what it means is that you want to lower the standard of manhood and not be held accountable to the original standard. So then you say it's antiquated. What you have to say is, okay, over the course of centuries upon centuries upon centuries, when we sit up and we see the standard lowered, when we want to say something is antiquated, not just manhood, but the core values of family and marriage. Anything that is a part of core values and principles that we can look back, that connects the family and talks about family structure. When you start to talk about it being antiquated and you want to move into some new age way of thought, you can follow with great precision and clarity the descendants or the disintegration of the moral core, excuse me, somebody stepping in front of my truck. The moral fiber, the moral code, the moral structure of the society in which it happens. You can find where you start to talk about, okay, we're going to do it like this instead of the way we've always done it. And there is a direct correlation with a rise in crime, a rise in poverty, a rise in single parenting, a rise in violence. All of these things can be directly associated with it. There's this thing in science, in scientific research, we call statistical significance. What is statistical significance? Statistical significance is a rate at which something has transpired or is transpiring that cannot be explained away by coincidence. If it happens to one person, coincident. If it happens to 2 or 3 people, coincident, depending on how many people are a part of the control group. If it happens to that many people, okay, coincidence. If it happens to a certain percentage of people, you got to explain why it's happening. You got to look at the cause. Nobody wants to look at the cause. People want to look at what's going on. And see, the bottom line is we have been integrated and socialized into an individualized mindset. See, the individualized mindset doesn't want to consider what's best for the collective. The individualized mindset wants to consider what's best for me, how I feel, how this makes me feel, what I want to do. And see, when what I want to do doesn't align with the core value, interests, and principles of the collective, then we start to find ways to minimize, marginalize, and depreciate the value of the core principles so that I can feel good about doing what I'm doing without feeling like I'm in violation. And so what happens is we continue the disintegration of what once was based off of these new ideologies that consistently are proving they don't work. We're falling further and further into an abyss of dysfunction because we're trying to do something in a new wave idea thinking when the core values always worked. Men being men, women being women, men covering men, women blossoming and growing into who they are naturally and instinctively. And I'm not talking about women can't do this and women can't do it. What I'm saying is when a woman functions in her true nature, she's an incubator. She's a giver of life, not just to children, but to visions and dreams, to ideas and personalities. She breathes life. That's why, and there are multiple ways she do that, but that's why you got guys chasing after women and chasing a feeling that they can't explain and going after it here and there because they can't find a way to settle down because the culture hasn't put it into them. But they always empty. Why are you empty? Because there's something in a woman that can be put into you that will stabilize you. And, you know, you can say antiquated, but at the bottom line is you got to show me where the new way has produced something better than the old way. What we've got is a bunch of black men competing with one another about how valuable they are based off of how much money they have and all of this other stuff. And they're not contributing anything to the community. They're not contributing anything to the home. Most of them are remaining single. Why? Because no one deserves them. So I can go around and dibble and dabble and play in it, but I don't have to commit to it. And so there's something that in your mindset that makes that right. That's just one thing that I saw that people wanted me to respond to, but I'm not going to go on and respond to every person on a thread that disagrees with me. First of all, you got a right to disagree with me. And I don't, unless you're doing it disrespectfully. I had one guy actually invite me. I stood up and I talked about something on that. I went on and I addressed something respectfully. Like I said, I'll go maybe 1 exchange, 2 exchange on a thread, and then I'll know, okay, you don't really want to get here to really try to see something. You're here to prove your point, and nothing I say is going to change it. And I understand that. I'm done, and I'll leave it. I don't have those tendencies where I've got to be catty. I've got to go out and I've got to show a person. I don't have to be catty. I put 30 plus years of my life in this. Before I ever was 20 years old. I started in 1985. I think I was 16. Putting in work and understanding this thing. This isn't something new to me. This isn't something I just jump out because I feel a certain way. This isn't something I jump out and talk about just because, you know, I want to talk about. This is something that I've invested a great deal of time in. I've studied all of the greats. Like I said, I've read, I can't tell you how many thousands of books. I read 100 books per year, minimum. And people say, well, how you do that and do everything? Commitment. While you're watching TV, while you're watching Kevin Samuels, while you're watching all this other stuff, I'm reading, I'm studying, I'm learning, I'm tapping into greater minds than myself. And I'm learning and I'm being taught and I'm studying and I'm preparing those who come behind me to be greater than I am, to be more in touch than I am, to be more aware and more knowledgeable than I am. I have no ego to protect. I am my own supporter and sustainer of my ego. I don't need nobody to stroke it. I know who I am. You can say I'm full of myself. Yeah, I am. I know who I am. I don't need nobody to stroke my ego. I don't need likes. I don't need shares. I don't need nobody saying, man, that dude there. I know who I am. I'm more concerned about what people will say about me after I'm gone. I'm more worried about what people are going to say about Dr. Rick Wallace 30 years after my death? Will they speak of me in a positive sense, like some of the people I admire, like Dr. Clark, like Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, like Malcolm, like Martin? Will they say he had an impact on this world that we can't shake? That's what I'm concerned about. All this other stuff is small to me, but I address it because I see something, and I am going to say this, and then I'm going to be done, and the chips can fall where they may. Any person that calls themselves a man that doesn't feel the urge to protect the black woman is not a true man. You can call it and say how you want to. If you feel the need to be validated by setting some woman straight on whether she's a 10 or a 4, you know, whether she deserves a high value man, whatever that is, you know, the fact that we've been reduced to valuing ourselves solely based on money doesn't even register to most of you that you've been commodified, that the greatest part of your strengths have been snatched away and hidden from you, hidden from the rest of the world, hidden from the people who really need to see it in you and experience it in you and be a part of it, and told you all you are is the value of what you have in your bank account and what you have on your body, what you can wear. And then you sit up and you talk about it as if it's something special. Anybody can go get it. And the beautiful thing about this whole thing that sets this thing is any woman with will and drive can get any of that on her own now. So that sets the stage for how else can you be valuable to the community, because a woman with will and drive can go out and create an environment where she can earn money as much as you or more. So that which you're giving her isn't something she absolutely needs you for if she's a woman with will or drive. And if she's awakened to that inside of herself, any one of these women can do that. Just like any man can do that. That's not the thing. The thing is, why don't we get together and do it as a unit? Why don't we get together and stop treating each other as enemies? And someone made the point, and I got to acknowledge it, someone made the point that it's not just black men attacking black women, that black women do it too. Yeah, black women there's a whole cult of feminism and anti-black manism out there being led by black women. And shame on you, because there's enough blame to go around. There's enough culpability to go around. So this isn't me championing black women and crapping on black men. I love my black brothers. And the thing is, it's kind of funny, we talk about the antiquation of the idea of black manhood, but all I have around me are strong black men, leading, loving, protecting black women, speaking in voices that heal instead of destroy. That's all I tolerate around me. And I cultivate it, and I show them, and every last one of them definitely have better houses than they had before I came around. So call it antiquated, but it's working, and it's working for the betterment of the family, the betterment of the community, and the betterment of the black race long term. If we don't get that, if we don't get back to the values, interests, and principles that made us strong, we're going to continue to disintegrate and decline into the abyss of oppression at a point and at a level and a time that we won't be able to recover from it. That's what we should be focusing on. And on that note, look, I'm out here. You people have an unbelievable day. I'm going to get in this gym. I'm going to do what I need to do and get the rest of my day done. I'm doing something special for a baby tomorrow for Mother's Day. So I tried to get this in today because I probably will not chime in at all on tomorrow with any significance, at least. And on that note, look, you guys have a great day. I hope that I made some things clear. But like I said, I've been doing this for a very long time. And I'm not talking about just listening and checking some videos out. I'm talking about reading, studying, being trained how to do research so that I can do it right, so that people can repeat what I've done and get the results to prove me right or wrong. That's science. When you do it in a way that the way you did it can come around and people can check your work and say, yeah, you've got that. That's something we've got to look at. That's science. How I feel really doesn't matter. On that note, look, I'm gonna get out of here. You guys have an unbelievable day. It was great talking to you. I'm out.